This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat. There's a lot of questions that I get asked a lot revolving around Naruto. A lot of them are something along the lines of who's your favorite character, or if you were in one of the clans, what clan would you want to be in, or who's the strongest clan in the entirety of Naruto. And while I have some answers that I'll just recycle to these questions because I get asked them every single day, there's a couple of variations to the answers that actually make the questions much more interesting. Not like the favorite character thing. That's always going to be Minato and Zabuza. That'll never change. Of those three, the truly most interesting question, to me at least, is which clan is the strongest? Now, while conventional knowledge would tell you the Uzumaki, or the Senju, or the Uchiha, or even the Hyuga or the Aburame if you're truly cultured, it's actually none of those. I mean, it's actually probably one of those if we're being entirely real, but today we're gonna explore a clan that could be argued as the strongest clan in the history of Naruto, and yet nobody knows about it. And that's mostly because this clan only had a small arc and filler in the OG Naruto. But before I get to revealing to you what is the true strongest clan in the history of Naruto, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you really like my different views on what power means in the scope of Naruto, well then maybe do me a solid and go ahead and follow my other YouTube page, NC Gamer 23, where instead of talking anime, I play video games. Before we get into all that, guys, we gotta talk about our favorite returning sponsor, Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. Let's start where we usually start and talk about Tokyo Treat. Tokyo Treat is a monthly Japanese snack box that gives you access to Japanese exclusive snacks. With this box, you can take a look into modern Japanese snacking, and each month the box comes with a theme. This month's theme is Summer Matsuri, and this 24-page pamphlet is actually very important because not only is it going to tell you what Summer Matsuri is about, it also tells you the contents, allergens, and flavor profiles of every single snack in this box. So let's say you pick this up and you don't know what it is, you don't read Japanese, all you have to do is refer to your pamphlet. And from the pamphlet, we figure out that these are Full Moon Pond salted crackers. So let's give them a try. An incredible crunch, salt, and butter profile. But let's say you're looking for something a bit more traditional. Sakura Co is a monthly subscription snack box, just like Tokyo Treat, but it's filled with artisanal and traditional Japanese snacks, the majority of which are handmade by local artisans. And just like with Tokyo Treat, each month has a theme, and this month's theme is tea time in Yokohama. And just like with Tokyo Treat, we run into the same problem where I don't know what this is, but the pamphlet tells us this is a Yokohama chocolate crunchy. Let's give it a go. The sweetness of the chocolate is perfectly paired with the light crunch. But the Sakura Co box actually comes with more than just snacks. Every single month they send you a new piece of tableware. This month they sent this adorable sauce plate. So what are you guys waiting for? Use code NCHammer at checkout for $5 off your first order at either Sakura Co or Tokyo Treat. But don't just go type in Sakura Co or Tokyo Treat, guys. Use the links in my pinned comment in my description below. Let's get to snacking. So clan strength, it can be boiled down to a lot of things. How many members are in your clan? What is your clan specific Genkai? Are you smart? Are you strong? What's your life force? How much chakra does your clan have? And if you look at just these tangibles, clans like the Senju, or the Hyuga, or the Aburame, or the Uchiha are gonna pop off the page as the strongest. I mean, hell, the Hyugas quite literally call themselves the strongest clan in Konoha. And the Uzumakis were so strong, it took 4 ninja villages to beat them in a fight. And the Senju beat the Uchiha back for generations. But what if I told you that the true strongest clan is none of those clans I just talked about? It's a lesser known clan, specific to Konoha, that gets very little screen time. You probably wouldn't believe me, because why would such a small and unknown clan be the strongest? Well, it's because their power comes at a price, and a lot of things would have to go right for them to harvest that power. The clan I'm talking about is the Kurama clan. And I won't blame you if you don't know what or who the Kurama clan is. I'd say about 80% of Naruto fans simply don't remember them, because they came from one of the least memorable filler arcs in the entirety of OG Naruto. But the fact that their last name is Kurama should clue you into the fact that they might be pretty strong. But ironically, even though their last name is Kurama, their power doesn't come from a massive outflow of chakra or life force. Their power comes from Genjutsu. And if you've seen my video, Could You Survive the Akatsuki, you'll know that Genjutsu is actually a lot more powerful than we give it credit for. Genjutsu, specifically ocular Genjutsu, is one of the most powerful things in the entirety of the anime. And unfortunately, it's drastically underused throughout the duration of Shippuden because it doesn't look as cool as a Susanoo or a massive Rasen Shuriken. The way it's used is also relatively complicated. So unfortunately, Genjutsu took a big step backwards in terms of being used in Shippuden, even though it was so important in OG Naruto. But because it's so infrequently used, a lot of people don't think Genjutsu is useful. But a fair to middling Genjutsu user could take on a large swath of the Akatsuki and probably win. As long as you're fighting somebody with non-intricate chakra control, Genjutsu can usually win you the fight, which is why it's such a shame that Kuranai, the person that the Kurama clan arc is actually wrapped around, took a step backwards, because she represents exactly the person we were talking about in the Could You Survive the Akatsuki video. She is a high Jonin level threat with a specialization in Genjutsu. And basically the only time we ever see her try to use Genjutsu is against Itachi, which is a bad idea because Genjutsu of that level doesn't work on him. But she kind of just chose the worst person to try and use Genjutsu on. Should she have tried the same trick on people like Suigetsu or Hidan or Kakuzo or even Kisame, it might have worked. Now, I'm not saying that Kuranai is as strong as Kisame, but what I'm saying is that her moveset and her skills give her an opportunity in that fight. And what's wild about the Kurama clan arc is that we learned that Kuranai's Genjutsu ability is nothing compared to theirs. You see, the Kurama clan is a bit like the Chinyoke clan. And the Chinyoke clan is a clan that we learned about in one of Sasuke's light novels. A clan in the land of hot waters that was relegated to living in this unlivable habitat because they believed that they killed their daimyo a long time ago or something like that. Regardless, the Chinyoke clan has a Kekkei Genkai that makes them better at Genjutsu, except their Genjutsu is ocular, just like the Sharingan. You see, this isn't the case with the Kurama clan. The Kurama clan just has an inherent ability, a bit like Jugo's clan, to just be better at something. And the way that Jugo's clan can just pull in nature energy naturally, the Kurama clan is just naturally better at Genjutsu for some reason. Being slightly talented at Genjutsu isn't good enough to beat the Senju or the Uzumaki or the Uchiha specifically. Just because they're talented at Genjutsu doesn't mean that they're gonna be able to beat the Uchiha in a Genjutsu battle. The highest heights that an Uchiha member can achieve in terms of Genjutsu is probably Kodo Amatsukame, Shisui's ocular ability that essentially allows him to rewrite somebody's personality. He can put them in Genjutsu so deep and so complete, it changes who they are without them ever noticing. But here's the thing about Kodo Amatsukame, unless you have Hashirama's cells, using it closes your eye for 10 years. And if you use it on somebody, they can technically be broken out of it. And it's like not hard to break somebody out of Kodo Amatsukame. Essentially, if somebody with a Byakugan or somebody with Mind's Eye of the Kagura, like an Uzumaki, sees your chakra network, they can see if your chakra network is disrupted. Because once you're put under Genjutsu, well, your chakra network gets all wonky. And then just by using the hand sign that breaks you out of regular Genjutsu, they can break you out of Kodo Amatsukame. Not to mention there's people out there who are entirely impervious to Genjutsu, like Sakura. So the highest highs that an Uchiha member can achieve in terms of Genjutsu isn't even necessarily that high. You could argue that Tsukiyomi is stronger than Kodo Amatsukame, and I'd probably agree with you. But here's the thing about Tsukiyomi. Yes, it does put you in a time loop for 72 hours, even though it only takes a second of real world time. And for those 72 hours, you are getting filled full of holes or some other terrible torture, and it basically breaks your brain. I mean, Kakashi quite literally had to be counseled by Tsunade to come back to life. Mental health is just health. But at the end of the day, Tsukiyomi still doesn't technically happen. It's a yin release, which means you make up something that's not there with chakra. And I know what you're saying, well, the Kurama clan uses Genjutsu too, so it's technically not there. And for the vast majority of the Kurama clan, yes, you would be right. The Genjutsu they make doesn't technically exist. It's Kuranai coming out of the tree. It's Tsukiyomi. It's crows flying out of Itachi. It's these kinds of things. Except, once every couple of generations, an exception is born. You see, while most people in the Kurama clan, the Kekkei Genkai just arises as being pretty good at Genjutsu. Once every couple of generations, there's somebody who's truly talented. Once every couple of generations, an anomaly is born that is able to use Genjutsu that we've only ever seen used by Otsutsukis. What do I mean by that? So in order to break down what I mean by that, let's talk about the only anomaly that we know, Yakumo. Yakumo Kurama was introduced during this Kurama clan arc, and she's actually the last remaining character of the main branch of the Kurama clan, which technically makes her the heiress to the clan and also kind of hurts my whole argument for they're the strongest clan. But wait until I explain to you what her abilities are. Essentially, Yakumo was born with a really weak body, so she couldn't become a ninja. But this stressed her family out because she was from an incredibly powerful clan, so they wanted her to be able to perform the duties of a ninja. So her father petitioned the third Hokage, Hiruzen, to assign her a special tutor. This tutor was Kuranai. And ironically, Yakumo actually was inspired by Rock Lee, who she saw had an inability to use ninjutsu in Genjutsu. So Yakumo thought she could become a ninja like Rock Lee by only focusing on her Genjutsu, because her body was too weak to pull off ninjutsu or taijutsu. Only problem is Kurenai is not quite as positive as Might Guy is. In fact, Kurenai got so dismayed while training Yakumo in only Genjutsu that Kurenai actually sealed her abilities to use Genjutsu away. Essentially, Kurenai wanted to force Yakumo to take a different path in life, away from being a ninja, which always felt kind of mean to me. Imagine you took away Rock Lee's ability to do taijutsu, but technically this wasn't Kurenai's decision. It was done on the order of Hiruzen. Surprise, surprise, Hiruzen was a dick. But Hiruzen only did it because he heard of the reason that Yakumo is considered prodigy. You see, Yakumo has a sentient being living inside of her, kind of a second personality, if you will. And this second personality is called Ido. Ido is a play on id. Id is a psychology term that refers to the part of your brain where primal and compulsive ideologies come from. Basically the stuff that keeps you alive, the beast side of your brain. The only problem is this Ido is a bit malicious and kind of evil, and this personality could take over Yakumo. The only problem is that this beast, Ido, is quite possibly the strongest enemy that's ever come up in Naruto. Not only was Ido able to undo the seal that Kurenai put on Yakumo, it was then able to use a Genjutsu so powerful it became real. I'll explain why that's so insane in a second, but essentially the motivations of Ido are that they just wanted Konoha to be destroyed. So one day when they overtook the seal that Kurenai placed on Yakumo, they envisioned a Genjutsu where the Kurama clan household was on fire, and then boom, the Kurama clan household was on fire. Now this fire kills Yakumo's parents, and that's a problem because when Yakumo retakes over her body, she thinks it was Hiruzen that killed her parents, because she believed that she had heard a conversation between Hiruzen and somebody else claiming that he wanted the Kurama clan gone. So Yakumo fled her mountainside manor, which was being watched by Anbu, by the way. She was able to sneak past Anbu with a weak and frail body and went to the mountainside overlooking Konoha, where she painted a picture of the Hokage's office being struck by lightning. She was trying to kill Hiruzen, and once again, what she wanted became true. Essentially, she willed lightning to strike the Hokage's office, and it lit it on fire. She then fled from the scene, but she was caught by a couple of medical ninjas who knocked her out. But then later, her uncle and the rest of the side family tried to rush all of the medical ninja to get Yakumo back. Essentially, they don't want the strongest thing they have being taken away from them. But Naruto and Might Guy and Sakura all managed to fight back this side family, and Unkai, her uncle, swears to get her back one of these days. Later, when she wakes up after the medical gas knocked her out, she puts the entirety of Konoha in Genjutsu. Think about how insane that is. It took Madara acquiring a Ten Tails, which is an alien, by the way, turning it into a god tree and reflecting a Rinnegan off the moon to get comparable results. Yes, you could say Madara put the entire world under Genjutsu and she only put Konoha under Genjutsu, but that's because she only had beef with Konoha. She didn't have a moon reflection. She didn't have the strongest beast in the history of Naruto in a Ten Tails. She just had anger. And this Genjutsu worked very similarly to Infinite Tsukiyomi. Essentially, it put people in a hyper-realistic Genjutsu. The one downside of this Genjutsu that Infinite Tsukiyomi has over this is that once you realize you're in Genjutsu, well, you can break out of it. If you realize you're an Infinite Tsukiyomi, well, you're still inside of a tree. But the tree bit's got nothing to do with the Genjutsu. So on a strictly Genjutsu basis, we're talking Infinite Tsukiyomi level without any of the prep time. And the only reason that Yakumo didn't win is because Kurenai finally told her that she was the one who killed her parents. And it's at this point that she realized that Kurenai cared about her, and that's why she sealed away her Genjutsu abilities, blah, 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 blah. But I've been alluding at the fact that making Genjutsu reality is insane for a while. And that's because it is genuinely the strongest thing in the Naruto universe. The only people we've seen able to do that are Hagoromo and Kaguya. But Hagoromo's the better example, so we'll talk about him. Essentially, being able to make Genjutsu reality is using yin-yang release. You project your consciousness into something using chakra like a Genjutsu. And while in most circumstances of Genjutsu, that's where it would stop, then using yang release, you make that Genjutsu a reality. So to put this into terms that might be easier to understand, essentially imagine if after the Tsukiyomi, Itachi put Kakashi in, Kakashi had 72 hours worth of sword wounds in his stomach. He would be dead 1,000,000 times over. But this isn't where it ends, because it also operates a bit like Izanagi. Essentially, you now have reality warping ability. Your imagination is reality. You can delete your body and be over there if you get stabbed. But the thing is, you're not blinding an eye and you have much longer than a minute. It is essentially creation of all things jutsu. Having a genjutsu you can make into reality is no different from what Hagoromo did with the Ten Tails. Essentially, Hagoromo took the chakra of the Ten Tails, projected an image of the nine-tailed beast, and then used Yang release to make those tailed beasts a reality. Anybody who can do this is considered a god. Hagoromo is the god of the shinobis. Kagi is a god in her own right. And yet here is just some random girl from a genjutsu loving clan living in Konoha with the ability of the gods, who not only can essentially use creation of all things jutsu, also is able to spread her genjutsu so wide it could be compared to infinite Tsukiyomi. And while these people are rare, they do pop up every couple of generations. And I don't know about you or the lifeline of the average Naruto person, but one person usually lives for about 3 generations. That's why you, more likely than not, know your grandparents. So it's entirely possible that the Kurama clan, for as long as it's existed, has had one of these people alive. And while it's stated that it is incredibly hard to control the subconscious second personality that controls his power, does mean you can control it. We saw Yakumo do it when she painted the lightning bolt to strike Konoha's Hokage's office. And here's the thing, technically everybody in Konoha at that moment kind of got plot armor. If you can make genjutsu reality, she's essentially the Scarlet Witch. She could have just painted a picture where everybody in Konoha was dead. But she only had beef with Hiruzen, so she only tried to kill Hiruzen. But there was technically nothing stopping her, lore-wise, from just writing a reality where Hiruzen doesn't exist. Like, instead of simply drawing a lightning bolt, she could have drawn above the Konoha's office just Hiruzen in 2 pieces, falling to the earth. And like that, he would have been gone. Orochimaru wouldn't have been able to stand with him holding on to him for 14 straight episodes. She was, and everyone before her that inherited the Edo, was essentially the Sage of Six Paths. So when you combine the fact that the strongest person in the Kurama clan was essentially Hagoromo, and everybody else was really good at genjutsu, it's hard to say they're not the strongest. Should that person be able to control the Edo, there's no other clan that could touch them, because that person, who would arguably be the leader of the clan, could just write those other clans out of existence. The only problem would be controlling it. As to why this never happened, well, 1, because that would be a boring story, and 2, because, you know, filler character. But I still think it's a really interesting thought experiment, and it very much proves my point that genjutsu is the strongest thing in Naruto. But what do you guys think about this arc? Do you remember what I'm even talking about? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're down there, please, for me, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. Listen, I don't even know how I got on the warpath for making genjutsu the strongest thing in Naruto, but once I find a take, I stick with it.